instructor.
Good evening and welcome to the Health and Fitness Show. My name is Leo Nazar. Those who don't know me, I'm a fitness instructor as well as a personal trainer, martial artist, and a few other bits and pieces. Tonight's show is going to be about martial arts type training and fitness as it normally is. So without further ado, if there's any questions, guys, but feel free to obviously WhatsApp us if you want. The number is 07779 481822, or you can ring directly into the office and it's 01582 481822. So what do I mean by martial arts and what kind of training are we talking about? Well, martial arts is a type of martial type fitness. So what we're trying to really say is to do, like people have asked me, what's the best martial art, or what kind of stuff do I need for self-defense? Well, self-defense itself is quite wide subject. What it means is to be able to look after yourself if you get attacked, etc., or if you get picked on, to be able to block and evade and move. Now, what I suggest and I recommend for most people, best way of self-defense is not getting into a confrontation in the first place. If you can run without getting hit, without hitting anybody, well, that's less chance of the police getting called, less chance of you getting in trouble or hurt or ending up in hospital. So that would be my recommendation for self-defense. Be alert when you're walking, right? Late at night, during the day, see groups of people crossing the road, be safe, cross over, try to avoid as much as necessary, as much as possible, really. But obviously sometimes, in now and day and age, you know what it's like. People, are a little bit different than what they used to be. And whether they're after your wallet or your mobile phone, or, just because you looked at them funny, in a strange way, people do have, more conflict nowadays. So my suggestion to you guys is obviously tonight's show is to recommend, what kind of martial art would suit what kind of person and what to pick. Because I remember when I was younger, the only option I had was my brother was actually a brown belt in karate. So he sent me to a black belt karate guy to learn karate until he actually got his black belt. And then he opened up his own club, which I then left the other guy and started coming under his tuition. So thanks to him, that got me into martial arts at the age of around about 7, I think it was. All of us brothers used to go, to be quite honest, when we were younger, just put in there to be able to look after ourselves. Yeah, and learn, some kind of fitness and keep ourselves fit. Yeah. So all my brothers used to come, and then after 6 months, some left after a year, the other one, so by the time we got to a year and a half, all of them had left, apart from me. Obviously, I stayed on because I thought it would come handy. I want to keep myself fit at the same time. And that time, there wasn't very many martial arts to pick from, especially in Luton. So I didn't know anything about anything at the age of 7. So my brother started me off with karate, which is a Japanese martial art. Yeah, so a lot of self-defense moves in that art. Okay. The only disadvantage, if you want to call it that, was there was no strikes allowed to the head when we're doing competitions. So obviously, if you went against someone who does boxing, who's always used to getting punched to the head, it was a little bit awkward for the person who hasn't been used to that kind of training. But it was very, very good. And it showed you, really low stances, center of gravity low, which means very hard to topple over. So I've been to many places after that, to be honest, to learn different types of martial arts. And in my opinion, they're all very good in their own world. So, when you're looking for a martial art, what kind of class would I go to, or what would I recommend? People have asked me, oh, what do you teach? And we actually got our own martial arts studio in Bury Park, right? So we teach different martial arts. We teach things like, I'm actually instructor of MMA, which is a mixed martial arts. It's a mixture of different arts. And in those classes, they learn certain skills from karate, which I have a black belt in, as well as Thai boxing. They learn stuff. Kickboxing, also hold a black belt in that. and some moves from jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I did Japanese jiu-jitsu many years ago for about 4 years. I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu now for about 2.5 years. So I have a basic, knowledge of some grappling skills as well. So what we do is we do have a separate coach who comes and teaches the BJJ, because as I am not a black belt, I get a black belt instructor coming down. People might know him. His name is Babalu. He's around Luton area. Then I personally teach the MMA and the kickboxing classes as well as the boxing. So these are different type of, self-defense stroke martial arts that we actually teach in our place. There are many other gyms, and a lot of them, train and teach different martial arts. But it all depends. Personally, if I was going to recommend a martial art, I'll look at the person's nature, his type of build, body, and see what sort suits him. Because, the only thing I find sometimes is parents put someone into a class where the child really doesn't know what's going on and doesn't like the class, for example, or he prefers something different to that, i.e. maybe they're put into a class where it's just hands, which is boxing, for example, where there's no leg movements. Apart from moving around, obviously, there is no kicking or anything of that nature. Foot sweeps, all that is not allowed in boxing. Therefore, the child's pretty limited in what he can use, okay, to defend himself, his two arms, his hands, basically. So, if in that case, I would recommend something like kickboxing, for example, where you're boxing, same kind of skill as boxing, as well as kicking, which then makes, your arsenal a little bit more. Now, instead of just using your hands to defend and strike, for example, we're using our legs, okay? So legs, feet. So that becomes more, obviously, harder to learn because there's more weapons, if you want to call them that, to use or to defend with. So, depending on what you want. There's some people that don't want to do any kind of striking. You can still defend yourself without actually hitting somebody, okay? There are other ways that we can stop somebody from hitting us, apart from running away, okay, or hitting them back, okay? It's by grappling with them. And that took me a little while, to be quite honest. I didn't get the concept of grappling till I did the jiu-jitsu years ago. And even more so with the BJJ that I have been doing now for about 2.5 years. Yeah, normally BJJ is really useful, I think, for someone who's a lot weaker than the other person. So, someone who's more powerful than you cannot basically power you if you do certain martial arts. And jiu-jitsu emphasizes on locks, training on grabbing onto shoulders, arm bars, leg bars, leg locks, things like this around the neck, so a whole of somewhere body comes around a body part. For example, if I was trying to hurt somebody or I was trying to attack somebody grabbed hold of my leg with both of his arms and his legs. So he's got two legs around my one leg and his arms. They can knee bar me, okay? For example, they can put toe hold on me. They could put a heel hook. So, they could do many different things that would make me say, okay, I'll give up. So whenever we're picking a martial art, the best thing to do, I would recommend, is go around and see the different disciplines. There are certain disciplines that just, mainly specialize in just legs. Certain martial arts like Taekwondo, they specialize in a lot. They do a lot. They do punches as well normally, but a lot. The old ITF Federation, they used to have a lot of leg work. So their kicks are absolutely amazing. But there's other person who might not be good at kicking, who doesn't want to do any kicking, for example. So I wouldn't recommend him going, say, Taekwondo as a martial art where they do a lot more kicks, so they emphasize mainly on kicking. Okay, so this is a way that you kind of have a rough idea of which martial art we want to go and have a look at. So if I was taking my kids somewhere, if I was an instructor myself, that is, saying that though, my kids do other lessons in other places. It gives them a little bit of a, positive to society, where they mix in with other students from other clubs and get to meet other people and instructors. Because, having one instructor, is pretty limited as far as I'm concerned. And this is what I think martial arts should be. It should be, free for all in a way, meaning that you should be able to train in any gym you prefer. So if you like to go to one gym and train something there, you should be able to walk into another gym, obviously pay your money and be able to join in that class. Yeah, I've seen a lot of instructors, if you're going to that gym, they don't really welcome them here. Me personally, I don't mind where they go. They come to my gym, they come to my gym. If they want to come here sometimes and they go use another one, that's fine. That's all the better. It's more knowledge for the student who's learning. Yeah, having more than one instructor, sometimes can be a disadvantage. Yeah, because they one saying one thing and the other instructor saying something else, and it can confuse the guy. Or sometimes it can work as an advantage where you've got different aspects from one instructor, which you use. That's the way I do it. I normally like to go be a student, still am really in certain martial arts. When I go out, pick, from the black belts, I say, I like this technique, for example. This works for me. Yeah. Doesn't mean my instructor is any less better than this instructor, for example. Yeah. But I'll just take the best from each instructor and use it for myself. And that's what I would recommend for you guys to do. So in order to, because I've had this question asked many, many times, so what do you think my son should do? First of all, ask your son or your daughter, what would they prefer to do? Yeah. I mean, some people wouldn't want their daughters, wrestling, for example, grabbing around other girls or whatever, and, rolling around on the floor. I mean, they might not. Right? So therefore, if they don't like that, then why wouldn't go to a grappling class? Someone might not want their daughters getting punched or learning how to punch. Therefore, I wouldn't really want to go to somewhere where they do punching. That more likely like boxing. Even kickboxing, they do a lot of punching. So it all depends on what you think, how self-defense is done. But self-defense, to be honest, on its own, has its own merits. Self-defense courses people run. I used to have those before, to be quite honest, but at the moment, I'm pretty busy with my other classes. But self-defense is a mixture. MMA, in a way, they're mixing different martial arts, or the best from each martial art, or a few techniques from each martial art, I should say, which would help you defend yourself. So if someone done a punch like this, or they did it in that manner, and they would show you how to defend that, how to deflect it, how to move out the way, or put your arm in the way to block it and counter it, for example. So when people want to learn self-defense, maybe the best place isn't to go kickboxing or boxing or taekwondo or, just naming a few martial arts that come to the top of my head. There are loads and loads of different martial arts. You need to really go and explore. And each class, you have instructors, many, many different instructors from many backgrounds. Some people go to a club because it's convenience for them. Other people go to a club because they know the person. Other people go there because, it's cheaper. So everyone has his own ways of picking what club to go. Me personally, if I was a student, which I was many years ago, as I got older, obviously I had to pick where I want to go. I would go to different martial arts. So if I was, for example, if I was going to pick top of my head, I'll just say boxing. So boxing, if I want to go to a boxing class, I would find out where all the boxing instructors are, or the clubs in Luton, for example, and then I would go and pay them all a visit. Compare prices in a way, I suppose, but my main interest would be in the instructor who's teaching the class. What kind of experience has he got? Yes. Has he done any fighting himself? The whole lot, depending on what I want my son or my daughter to do. Yeah. So if I want them to go to competitions, then I would like to go to an instructor who's done a couple of competitions at least, so he knows he's had some competition experience. Yeah, so he can then, help them towards that goal, as it were. Okay. But I've noticed there are a lot of instructors out there that are great at teaching, not so much, in competition themselves. Okay. Or the other vice versa, where you get instructors who actually, are pretty good in the ring, but their teaching skills are not so great. So obviously go and visit the instructor, go and see how far the class is from you guys, and, see if you find a balance. I don't want somewhere too far. Yeah. I don't want somewhere too close, neither, where the instructor isn't really what I'm looking for. I'm pretty strict in my classes most of the time. I have to let the kids have a laugh, obviously, when they've done really well, or every few months down the line. But most of the time they are at work. They come here to train. Yeah. And I expect them to get better and better, okay, as time goes on. Okay, so it all depends. Some parents just put their kids into a class where, just go out there. They want a bit of time out to themselves, and okay, we got inconvenient. We got a boxing class down the road. I'll just send my son there, and I'll spend time at home, or I got to go work. I got to do something. Great. I mean, that's all fair enough if that's what they're looking for. But me personally, if I'm paying money to send my child, for example, somewhere, I expect him to learn as much as possible, then get on with the instructors, check the instructor's skills actually to see what kind of grades has he got, where has he been trained. Yeah, you get a lot of instructors saying, I used to kick like this, I used to punch, but now I can't. Me personally, I'd rather go to someone who still can, you know, who's still pretty active in the game, maybe compete every now and then. Yeah, if I want my kid to be doing the same thing. So again, it all goes down to what your ambitions are, your boys or your daughter's ambitions are. Some people just want to take a little bit of self-defense just to be able to take care of themselves, bit of fitness, bit of time out from the house. So all this is very important to think of before you decide to pick a class or a club. Nothing, it doesn't hurt to go and try them out. Yeah, some people do first lesson free, some do a trial session. Yeah, that you can come in and do one trial session. Some charge half price. You know, so it's worth going, having a look. Okay, get your child around there to see how he gets on, and then take it from there. Okay, so it might be boring for some of you guys tonight to say, well, actually, we're not interested in the martial arts. If you're not interested in the martial arts, I will be on the second part of the show speaking a little bit more about fitness as well, which is obviously incorporated within the martial arts. Okay, but martial arts training is basically to be able to handle ourselves in a situation and get you prepared for that. So if the time arises, or when it does, at least we're semi-prepared in a way that we've kind of had scenarios simple to what would happen, and how you'd react then would be obviously a lot more faster and a lot more better. And that's what the aim is in these classes. So when you go to a martial arts class, most of the time they first teach you, kind of warm you up. So that's what they should be doing, warming up the body, get the muscles nice and warm so we can be active. We don't have any injuries. So remember, that's most important. And even when you're training at home, this doesn't go just for martial arts. This goes for any kind of training. Okay, even the swimmers, they don't just jump in a pool and away they go. All right, so they normally move around, mobilize their joints, their muscles, they move and stretch them, warm them up a little bit, because they're going to be active. Last thing you want to do is pull a muscle wherever you are, whatever training you do, because then that does now hinder your training. And now your gains will have to wait, take longer, and you might be put back 2 or 3 weeks. So just remember how it works for training, any kind of training. The first thing you should be doing in a club when you go in there, hopefully, after greeting the instructors, sorting yourselves out and getting there inside to do some kind of a warm up. Okay. Then there should be some kind of heart raise. So making positive energy for you guys. So your body's nice and warm, it's getting warm, and your heart rate is coming up to give you the cardio side. Cardio is so important. I will emphasize on that. Okay. It's good to be active. Okay. I know so many people I know are big and maybe strong as well, but they're not very functional. If you can't scratch your back with your own hand, you need to be able to stretch. You need to be able to lengthen your muscles as well, so that it helps you in every day-to-day life. Okay. So these guys that do, overdo the bodybuilding and stuff like this, I think they should be able to spend some time on some stretches, warming themselves up before they actually execute the exercises. So this is some just general advice for everybody. So this isn't just for martial artists. So it's not, not interested in martial arts, let's just switch off. This is actually generalization training for everybody. Anybody who does any kind of training, just remember the routine of what we should be doing. Always remember the first thing should be warm up yourself. So you're warming up your muscles, heart rate increase. So you could be, if I was in a gym, I might be on a treadmill, I might be on a cross trainer. Yeah, if I'm at home, I might be doing a bit of jogging on the spot, a bit of skipping. There's many ways of raising the heart rate. Okay, so that's the first thing to do. Warming up yourself, yeah, and raising your heart rate. And then before training, basically, we should make sure that we do kind of exercise that we're going to be doing during training. So if you're doing kickboxing, you can mimic some of the movements. That's what they do. Like in boxing, for example, they do some shadow fighting. Yeah, that's just punching thin air, basically, moving around. Yeah, so that's what we do against an invisible person, as I call it, or your own shadow. Okay, so that's the way they normally train. And same as loads of martial arts, they normally mimic the movements that they're going to do before the session. And then depending on what martial art that you're doing, they might be pairing you up with a partner to, do a little pummeling, for example, which is underarm, overarm use, grabbing each other's, arms and wrists if you're doing some kind of grappling. All right. But then then the session starts or whatever that you're doing. If it's kickboxing, then they're going to teach you kicking, punching, etc., whatever else that they do. Just remember, whatever you do, that could be weights. Doesn't have to be a session for martial arts. It could be a weight training session. So even the ones that come for weights, first thing you should be doing is some kind of a cardio to raise your heart rate. Okay. So going on a bar, on a 20-kilo bar and doing that for 10 reps and right, let's go for training, we warmed up, isn't the way forward. So please remember these tips, because, they are free, complimentary for you guys. Okay. I've studied a few years at college, quite a few years, and my wealth of experience I'm passing on to the community is hence why I do this show and try my best to do it once a month. Sometimes obviously work doesn't permit. But in the meantime, this is all for you guys to help you guys. And hopefully, when I say guys, I mean the women as well. It's for all of you, so you can have advice on any kind of fitness or training wise. Really, I should be able to help you. There are questions sometimes somebody might ask, and I might not quite know the answer to that. I'm not, saying I know everything, and therefore, then I will actually find out for you and get back to you. Everybody knows my mobile number by now. Yeah, you've seen me around. I'm at the gym in Bury Park. Okay, if anybody wants to contact me there. Okay, my number's all plastered along the walls there as well, which is okay. So there's not a problem for that to be contacted. So as for the training, that's what you meant to do even before the weights. Heart rate first, then you mimic the movements. If I was doing bench press, I would get the bar really light, 20-kilo bar, and do maybe 20 reps on that. Okay. Just remember, whenever you are training, though, a lot of people I've seen, they do a lot of warm up. I mean, it's good to be nice and warm, but that should be just during the cardio stage. Then we're ready to mimic the movements that we're going to do, and then we execute them. When we finish training, or in this case, it could be a martial arts class, when just before the class finishes, what we should do, and that is we first bring the heart rate down, because the heart rate probably be quite high. Depending on what you're doing in the class, the heart rate might not be so high. So the most important bit is bring the heart rate down. Okay, bring your training down to more near the end. And then remember to do some stretches. Very important to finish on the stretch while you're training, whatever it is, whether it's martial arts, whatever. Your muscles normally are contracting. Okay. And they're not fully lengthened. Okay, so they need to be stretched out, lengthened out, elongated, as they say, okay, after your training. So got to make sure that's what's been done before you actually go home. Or you can go home and do your stretches there. And there's different body parts that we know how to stretch. And we were going to be hopefully going through the next month's class will be my lesson here. On the radio show is going to be about stretching, because I think it's very, very important. Okay, so we're going to spend at least half the show showing you guys, maybe if I can get something set up here so we can show you practically how to do certain stretches. Okay, so every body part, okay, example, bicep, tricep, all these different parts of the body, they need to be stretched. Okay, should be, if you could do before a training, that's great, as well as after, but more so important after training. As soon as you finish your exercise, whatever it is, in the gym, even if you're running down the road, just doing a running routine for 20 minutes, maybe. Great. That's your exercise. That's your heart rate, everything done. You're all warmed up. Everything is good. And that's all you're doing. So that's fine. But what happens when you finish? Heart rate needs to come down. So don't just run fast as you can and then just stop. Bring the pace right down. Okay, so the heart rate starts to decline. Okay, so it comes back down almost to your resting heart rate, and then we can stop. Okay, and then remember the stretch is right at the end. Okay, So these is what we need to do. Right, guys, we're going to go into an adverts in a few minutes, in about a minute. So I'm just going to give you the numbers again. If you need to WhatsApp, it's 07779481822, or the number here is 01582 481822. So I hope you got those numbers. Any other issues that you have on the other side of the show, the second part of the show, please feel free to WhatsApp us, please leave messages. We might not be able to talk directly, answer your questions for you, but we can let you know online. If you can send us a message, I can get back to you and reply to that. Okay. All right, we're going to go into that verse in a few seconds, and I'll hopefully see you on the other part, second part of the show.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, this is your brother Raheem Jung.
My name is Shamshid Zaman.
My name is Shahid Quest.
My name's Chris Nichols.
My name is Fahad Matin.
Nasima Ayub.
Hi, it's Ollie Martins.
My name's Sergeant Perry.
Dave Taylor.
My name is Riyadh.
My name is Peter Adams.
I am Sonja Glenn.
My name is Fab.
My name is Sulman.
My name is Sufyan Sadiq.
My name is Imran Khan.
My name's Mushtaq Koyas. You're listening to Inspire FM 105.1 FM.
You are number 19 in the queue.
Tired of hearing this? Waiting weeks for an NHS appointment? Optimize Body and Mind put your health first.
I took a blood test and found out I was vitamin deficient.
That's right. Urgent GP appointments for just £45. Prompt, personalised care when you need it most.
I took a vitamin injection and now I feel like a new person.
Deal with symptoms, vitamin deficiencies, hormone imbalances, and pick up any early signs of illness. Put your health first with Optimized Body and Mind. Call us on 0333 012 4214 or visit optimizedbodyandmind.co.uk to book your appointment today. Your health is our priority.
Luton's most luxurious venue for Asian weddings is now bigger and better than ever before. With 2 venues to choose from, Venue Central can provide the ultimate setting for your wedding. 2 huge venues, 1 high standard, right in the centre of Luton. Visit us online today at venuecentral.co.uk or call us now on 01582 451 767. Venue Central, affordable luxury in a central location.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: أد الأمانة إلى من ائتمنك ولا تخن من خانك. That you should fulfill the trust of the one who entrusts you and do not betray the one who betrays you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Neha Sekri. The early signs of a heart attack can vary. The most common include squeezing across the chest, a feeling of unease, and a sense that something just isn't right. It can be easy to dismiss the early signs of a heart attack as the symptoms don't always feel severe. It's never too early to call 999 and describe your symptoms. Your NHS is here for you.
For the last 10 years, SKT Welfare, with your support, has helped millions of people who are suffering due to lack of food, shelter, water, and medical care in Pakistan, Syria, Africa, Yemen, Palestine, and Bangladesh for Rohingya refugees. Thank you. Without your support, we could not have achieved this. Please continue to help. Donate now. 0300 30 20 786 or www.sktwelfare.org. Just 85 pence a day could provide vital food.
Head over to inspirefm.org to check out our new website. Missed a show or want to listen back to an old one? Want to know about upcoming schedules or maybe keep up to date with events going on? Don't worry, it can be found right here on www.inspirefm.org. As well as that, have a question, query or comment, find the contact details right here and become part of your community radio station. For the community, by the community.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
Any health advice given, whether general, diet, physical, or spiritual, is general only and must be verified by your doctor. If you need medical advice, please consult a doctor.
Hello and welcome back to the Health and Fitness Show. My name is Leo Nazar and I'm your host. And tonight's show, really, on the first half of the show, is mainly talking about martial arts and fitness, really, and what kind of martial art and how to pick which martial art will suit yourself and what kind of training that will be involved in that, i.e. the warming up side and the cooling down side. Okay, so the second part of the show, we had a few people actually rung in to our place here and asked us a few questions and wanted to go online. Now, the whole purpose of the show is to obviously answer any questions, but the show is generalization for everybody. So if there's any personal questions or any questions somebody might have or want to speak about any topics, feel free to obviously message us and we can then get back to you. That's not going to really be discussed on air at the moment, guys. So I'm sorry to say that. If there's any other questions that you do have regarding any kind of advice for fitness, martial arts, or training, I'm all ears and I'm happy to help. But you gotta message us, right? So then we can go through your message later on, and then if I need to check up on anything, I can check up and then get back to you and give you positive advice. Okay, so forgive us for that. Right, so martial arts and training. So once you guys have decided what martial art that you want to do, there's many clubs in Luton that do it. I'll be quite honest. A lot of them are my friends, and I recommend all of them. Slight different, opinions in different places, but most of the clubs, I'll be honest, are very friendly. Everybody's good in the clubs. They're looked after well. Just remember, wherever you are, you should have some kind of protective equipment on. So whatever you're doing, to protect yourself and others. Also make sure that there's, you wear rash guards and stuff like this to prevent anything from spreading. Okay. So when people swear and they're wrestling, you're going to have to be careful on that side as well. Same as when people are boxing, you're wearing shearing gloves and you're shearing head guards. You have to be careful with those. You need to, like in my club, what we tell the people, everybody needs to buy their own equipment. This is something that we actually emphasize in our club, local clubs. Some clubs, I know that they have loads of stuff people just use, which is okay. We have that option in our club too. But most of the time, I do recommend that everybody buys their own equipment for the first 1 or 2 lessons when they're unsure if they want to carry on with that martial art. It's pointless calling someone into the club, give them a trial session and then saying, right, you have to join. And these are the equipment that you need to buy, because they might say, okay. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, they don't want to do it any longer for worries or want to change over to a different class. And like I said, in my class, it's a bit different. Every class has a uniform. Okay, so boxing would be wearing either a vest, a tank top, okay, or a t-shirt. That'd be the top. Bottom half would be shorts. There's no tracksuit bottoms. You must wear trainers, plimsolls, or training shoes or boxing shoes. That is part of the training in my club. We have mats on the floor. So if you are thinking of enrolling to our sessions, you have to bring a spare pair of trainers that you haven't worn outside to be worn on there, because we have mats, okay? And we don't have just a normal floor, or we have safety mats on top of those, and we do grappling on them as well. So we have to make sure outdoor shoes are not worn on there. So that's the uniform that we wear in boxing. Kickboxing has its own uniform as well. There's a kickboxing suit that we have. Always, if you're new and you want to pop down and have a look at the kickboxing, by all means you can. We give you a trial session at a lower rate, and on that trial session we expect you to wear a t-shirt. Okay, so no vests and showing your arms. Is a t-shirt, and it's long sleeve trousers, as in tracksuit bottom or a jogging suit bottom. Okay, so no shorts would be allowed to be worn in our kickboxing classes, right? So I'm just letting everybody know, because I've had quite a few people that have had actually turned up to my classes. They want to join in, great, but they have not been dressed appropriately, and I don't like sending children home saying, look, they're looking forward to the classes, and it's not a good start. So, but nevertheless, certain things in the class, I do like to, keep in control of, and it is the uniform. Even me, sometimes in a lesson, I'll get 3 times change over 3 times different class. When I teach a little bit of grappling, MMA, I'll wear a rash guard in shorts, MMA shorts. When I'm in the boxing, I'll wear boxing shorts, okay, with the vest. Yeah, when I'm in the kickboxing class, I'll wear my kickboxing uniform with my belt, with my black belt. So this is what it is. So if you do come to one of my classes, it's what it is. If you want to come to a jiu-jitsu class where the other coach is teaching, again, first lesson, it doesn't really matter. But after that, if it's a gi, you need to have a gi, which is a suit. If it's no gi, you need to have a rash guard, long sleeves. Certain clubs have short sleeves. That's great. In our club, they're all long sleeves. So just remember to ask whatever club you're going to, is there a uniform? Because I have noticed a lot of the clubs, a lot of them don't have uniforms, and they're quite happy for you to go in there with different, color uniforms, which is fair enough. But in my clubs, a little bit more stricter. Everyone looks a bit more professional because they all look the same, So therefore, that's why we have that. I've always had a uniform throughout my years of training with other guys that I've trained with. So that's the kind of standard I'm going to probably keep in my club. Furthermore, the safety equipment is a very, very important must. Okay. Everybody in my club needs to have a license. They're all insured, all the kids. Yeah. So this is something that we normally do with most of our lessons. Okay. So depending who you're with, okay, registered with the ABA Boxing Association. Therefore, my ABA, I am a coach from them, with them. Therefore, if you're registered there, you need to be carded and ready to fight. You have a medical done, etc. Same as our kickboxing. When I'm registered with the kickboxing organizations, you will be under those. You'll have a license. You'll have insurance. Okay, that is how it works. Okay, so there are the clubs that don't have that issue. They don't expect you to buy insurance or a license. That's completely up to them. So that's something that you need to ask when you go in. Yeah, always ask on how much is it going to cost. Okay, we are doing complimentary uniforms in certain clubs, certain lessons that we do, obviously, but you have to look at the terms and conditions on those as well. So training wise, very, very important. People have asked me, well, hang on, what martial arts do you actually do? And, because I've had people ask me, can you show me some Kung Fu? I'd love to, was my response to that. But I don't know much Kung Fu myself, if any, to be honest. Yes, I had a few lessons of Wing Chun, but I'm not really any expert whatsoever when it comes to Kung Fu. So the martial arts that I have actually trained up to a high standard, okay, and done it for a good few years, yeah, would be karate, for example, kickboxing, Thai boxing, MMA. I also done Japanese jiu-jitsu for a few years. I've done BJJ, which is Brazilian jiu-jitsu now, for about 2.5 years. So these are the martial arts that I've actually done myself. I'm not a coach in all of them. Okay. In the BJJ, I have a separate instructor coming down, but for kickboxing, karate, sessions like this, boxing, I'm a coach myself. I'm still in a fighting game, to be quite honest. And I have done a few jiu-jitsu competitions. I did boxing prior to that, before COVID. When I was younger, I did karate competitions. I did kickboxing competitions after that. That was in probably about 10 years ago, was my karate competitions. Kickboxing, no, more than 50 that years ago, probably about 20 years ago, I did karate competitions. 10 years ago, I did karate kickboxing competitions. And then COVID time, I did boxing and then competition. And then I did recently, a few months back, maybe 5 or 6 months ago now, I did BJJ competitions. So, I just like to keep myself handy and keep moving around and just see how I get on, really. I like competing, but I think now I'm getting a little bit older now. Just taking it easy. Injuries, seem to persist, and they stay a lot longer than they normally used to. So if I have an injury, normally used to take a few days. Now it takes a few weeks. Yeah. And then I can't wait a few weeks for training, and then I go back and it gets worse. That's the other thing that you need to be very careful of. Whatever training you're doing, be careful of the injuries, because injuries hinder and they help. They obviously don't help towards, you getting further up the ladder of what you're getting going towards your goal. So again, to keep an eye on the injuries, we need to make sure that we have protective equipment on, we take it easy, and we go with people that know what they're doing. And instructors need to keep an eye on that wherever you decide to go. So when they ask me, what martial arts would you recommend yourself or for us to do, I say have a look. Depending on your age, some people maybe don't want to do any more, for example, kicking. And I would find something that has either less kicking or no kicking. Some people don't want to do striking now. They don't want to go any competitions. Or they do want to do competitions, but they're older now and they not want to punch and kick, for example. And so they're grappling. So they're all wonderful sports. I already do admit all of them are very, very good, you know. So if someone who doesn't really know much about jiu-jitsu, will look at it more like a cuddle match. People are trying to cuddle each other. Well, they're not. If you look carefully, it's very, very technical. Okay, there's gi and no gi. To be honest, quite a bit difference there. Yeah, with the gi is what you'd find a person in the street. He'll have something on, so you use that to help you. So maybe strangle him, for example, if he's trying to attack us. Yes, or you can grab him and put him in an armbar. Yeah, by grabbing hold of his sleeve rather than his arm. And then there's no gi. No gi basically means what it means. There's no uniform, but there might be a uniform, but there's no gi. You don't need to wear the uniform that crisscrosses over and a pair of trousers to go with it. No gi. A lot of people wear shorts and they wear a rash guard. Yeah, less to grab hold of. You're not allowed to grab hold of the rash guards. You're not allowed to grab hold of the shorts. This is about grabbing arms and legs and body now, you know. So different kind of training for different types of martial arts that you want to learn, and they're all very, very good. You know, I've been a stand-up man all my life, to be honest, learning from karate to kickboxing to boxing, Thai boxing, you know, all standing and kicking and punching and elbows and throws and, you know, but since I got into this jiu-jitsu and doing the grappling, I've got to say it's just as good, if not better. You know, it does, you know, help a lot of people. You know, once it's like a kickboxer or a boxer. If he's attacking me, okay, if I grab hold of him, he's going to have a hard time doing boxing with me, isn't he? Because what do they do in boxing when you grab each other? Yeah, they might let you fight for about 5, 6 seconds, 10 seconds if you're lucky. Then they say break, stop, and split up and then carry on with your punching. Same as kickboxing. They don't have to grab your legs and start twisting you up and throwing you on the floor. They don't have to do that. So if that's not what they can do in their rules, then they're not used to doing that. Therefore, you'll have an advantage if you did that. And hence why grappling is very good. Okay. So, and less injury to the other guy. Yeah. If you can disarm somebody from hitting you, from attacking you, without actually, you know, causing a bruise on them. Yeah, that's very good. And that would be some kind of grappling skills. So I'd recommend something like wrestling, something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a lot of floor work. Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy is very comfortable on his back. That was the hardest thing for me. I've never been on my back, to be quite honest. Since I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the only time. So for the last 2.5 years, maybe, yes, I'm kind of used to be on my back now, and I like to be in a top position most of the time. I'm more of an offensive than defensive kind of a person. But, you know, I think it's all really, really good. I think it's important to have a mixture. So those people who are learning the grappling, great, but have a bit of a mixture, learn a bit of a stand-up as well, right? So that would be my advice to everybody. I mean, depending on what age you're at now and, you know, what your intentions are, you know, a lot of people are now just doing it for the sport. Very few people want to enter competitions, and that's fair enough. It's not for everybody. Okay. But when you're young, it's just good to do some light competitions, you know. Yeah. But that's what we normally specialize in our club. We get kids, we get them to do light contact. Yes. Semi-contact in certain places. The difference between light contact and semi-contact, even though they sound exactly the same, light contact means we're continuously fighting normally. So we kick, punch pretty light, not too heavy, basically not full contact. And at the end of the round, they get judged on the round. Who's won, then the next round, then the next round. It's a bit like boxing. When it's a point system now, like it's more called semi-contact. It's points. So if I punch somebody controlled to the head, they'll say stop. That's a point for me. Kick someone to the head, they'll say, all right, stop. That was a clean hit. Stop. he's got a point, he'll get 2 points. And at the end of the round is judged on who's got the most points, for example. So that's the difference between light contact, continuous fighting, and semi-contact, which is point system fighting, building up points. Stop, start would be the semi-contact. But the light continuous normally not stopped unless you go out the areas, unless you've done a foul or there's been some sort of an issue where they had to stop it and then continue from there. Okay, then from there, there's other competitions that you can move into, which then, like for boxing, for example, a lot of clubs are doing inter-club competitions, which are very good. Good way to set your kids up to learn, first they should be sparring at your own club. So it's the same thing in our club. When you come in, we don't just start throwing you in the ring and start fighting. You've got to learn how to defend. You've got to learn how to move. Yeah, got to learn. I'll teach the defensive side of things work first. Once you learn a few bits of defensive movements and evasion techniques, we then put you into offensive as well. So you learn how to punch back, kick back if you're doing kickboxing, etc. And that's what we do. Once you can do that, we then put you on targets we give you that you hit, kick, punch. They move slightly depending on what it is. Could be a speed ball, could be a punch bag. All right. And then from there, the next stage I do is normally pad work or shield work. Like a shield that you hold. It's like a human punch bag. You kick the shield, we move, we stop, they kick, etc. Same as hand pads. For boxing, we use all pad work for the hands. We move the pads. Sometimes we hit back with the pads. That's the next stage. So they come in stages. You don't just go in there, right, and start going into the ring and it's right, let me fight. No, you have to do these obstacles have to be done first, have to be passed. Okay. And then the final stage is the ring. Then you have light sparring. And then we have rules. It could be for boxing, for the younger kids, no headshots. So they're doing body punches only. You can wear body armor, okay, if you want to wear them. You have them in the club. It's up to you. It's optional. Most people don't, but there's body armor that you can put on to help protect your chest and stomach. All right. Good for the kids who don't like too much contact. That's the way to start. You wear the body armor, okay? And then later on, you've got full contact headgear that covers your face anyway. You get gum shields, you get boxing gloves, and you can do light contact after that. Okay. And as you progress from there, we move you on into full contact if that's what your requirements are. Some people don't want like full contact. They want to stick to light contact. Light contact. I'm a referee and a judge, or I was a referee and judge for WAKO, World Association of Kickboxing Organizations, where I've actually refereed and judged a lot of fights. And up there, even the adults still fight light contact continuous. They're not happy with full contact, so they don't have to do that. There's some people that just specialize in point system. They're so fast, they're like lightning. They move around and bang, they've got you 1 point. Before you get them, they get you again 2 points. Before you know it, the round's finished and you're into round 2. Yeah, depending on how many rounds it is, normally 2 or 3. Winner who's won the rounds of total points wins. So you don't have to move into full contact. And then there's K1. Okay, those who are asking about what the rules are for K1. Normally, you're allowed to strike with one knee. Okay, so you can knee one to the body only once. You're allowed to grab the kick. If someone kicks, you grab and strike once. So these are certain rules for certain associations for K1. And then you've got the Thai boxing. The Thai boxing is kickboxing from Thailand. Those rules are a little bit more different. In our kickboxing that we teach, American style kickboxing, there are no kicks normally allowed to be done below the waist. So kicks are done to the body, front of the torso and side of the torso, and to the head, front and side of the head. That's where the kicks are. And then foot sweeps, normally boot to boot, which means foot to foot, foot sweep. Okay. On our organization now, they do also have kick light. So it's light contact continuous with low leg kicks. So they're getting used to moving on to either K1 or Thai boxing, where you're allowed to strike the inside and outside thigh. So light contact there. Okay, so and then they move you on to Thai boxing. Thai boxing rules are slightly different. Unless you're doing a major tournament, there's normally no elbows allowed to the head. Okay, knees are allowed. Obviously, you're kicking with your shin, you're kicking with your foot, you're punching with your hands, you're grabbing someone and sweeping him over, throwing him over on the floor within reason. I mean, just throws where you're sweeping the legs away. A little bit more brutal than the American kickboxing. So it all depends. We have the full package, not just us. A lot of places have that. So depending on which martial art that you're happy doing, what your intention is, moving into full contact or staying on light contact, that is something for you to do. Now, again, it doesn't have to be martial arts. Tonight's show was mainly on martial arts, but there's also the training side, any kind of training. Okay, so whatever training you do, the routine is still the same. Okay, going in there, warming up, mobilizing, warming up, yeah. Getting your heart rate up, muscles nice and warm, body nice, ready to go to work. Then specific exercises to what you're doing, okay? And then obviously the lesson. If you're kickboxing, whatever your lesson's about this week, could be about evasion, could be about offensive work, okay? Then at the end of that, should be a cool down. Heart rate's gone up, I want to bring it down. So I'm going to bring the heart rate back down, close to rest, obviously, and then do your stretches. We'll then bring that down to resting heart rate. And depending on how fit you are, how low that is. Okay. So that is the routine for training. So at least everyone has a good idea now. Those who are listening to the show, those who are not, you can pass this message on to them. This is what you should be doing near enough every time you go training, whether it's to the gym, whether it's, to do weights. It doesn't have to be so much, or just to use the machines at the gym. Okay. So cardio is very, very important. Some people just do cardio machines. They don't need to do any weights. I suggest, even for the people that do the cardio machines only, is to actually use the weights maybe once a week. Yes. So, they do all-round movement. So on the machines, you are restricted with movement. Okay. So certain machines, if it's a shoulder press, if it's a chest press, you're limited because you're sitting in that position. And you can't really move too much to if the weights needs to go to one side or the other side. This is all on a stack system. So if you've got a stronger or a weaker side, that would probably still stay stronger on one side, and the other side won't catch up so easy. So that's why I recommend weights as well. If you've got a stronger and weaker side, you'll actually see the lift isn't quite right, or one end of the bar is slightly leaning to the other side, which means you then have to push a little bit more with that weaker hand or arm. So that's something that you need to bear in mind when you're training, okay? Positive and negative failure training, okay, which people should know. A lot of people do the positive side, okay, bringing anything up was positive, taking it back down to rest is a negative phase. Very, very important for certain exercises, for certain muscles, okay? Everyone has a positive side of things. When it comes to negative, lowering weight, people normally just straighten their arm when they're doing preacher curls or whatever, just really quickly. It should be, think of what you're really doing, okay? Should be nice and slow up, okay? Nice and control down the weight, always controlling the weights. If you're doing weights, whatever that you're doing has to be under control. So whenever you're doing any kind of running, even, just make sure that if you're on a treadmill, it's under control. You don't come falling off, slipping off. Yeah, common sense basically is what you really need for most of the stuff. So anyway, just to a quick recap on what we've actually went through today, okay, or tonight, the show was about martial arts, what kind of martial arts, what you should do, how to find martial art people. You can go online and check, yeah, by all means, pop down to our club if that's where you want to have a look. I can advise you where else to go. If I can't help you with something, yeah, then I'll put you to another club that can. Because rather than you going around checking 10 different clubs, not being sure what to do, you might be advised to go to 2, 3 first. And you might say, you know what, out of these 2, 3, I'll pick that one. Saves you going to 10. So that's completely up to you which way you decide that you want to pick your club. But it's very, very important that nowadays we teach our children and even ourselves some kind of fitness program, some kind of training methods, okay? And keep them off the street, okay? You've got to give them something positive to work towards. And, positive lifestyle they need, okay? So brings up positive attitudes. And children who are, too much work and no play isn't the best thing. So my recommendation is they need to be obviously, physically, yeah, inspired to do something. And I think it's very, very important. This is where I come into it, where I like to see people, children, even adults, training, be fit and happy, that with their body, right? This is where we start getting other problems, heart diseases, yeah, strokes, high cholesterol. All starts from training, all starts from diet, what we're eating. So it's very, very important what you eat is what you are. Yeah. If you don't train, you won't be able to walk very far or anything else. You get very tired. So coming back to nearly right down to the end of the last minute of the show, all I want to say to you guys is, right, I hope that this was positive for you guys. Our next show will be in 4 weeks' time, okay? The second week of the next month, okay, which is the second Thursday. If there's any questions that you have, please text us. We'll be more than happy to text you back. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be about stretches. If I can set the cameras up, we'll be able to do a little bit of practical work on the next class, on the next show that we have. This is Leo Nazar, wishing you all the best and good night.